Welcome to the third episode of DoubleLife Exposed, a six-part series taking an in-depth look at each track on singer-songwriter Christian Beach's recently released EP, DoubleLife. This time, we'll take a closer look at the EP's third track, and my personal favorite to listen to, Dead Man's Weight. And joining us again is the artist himself, Christian Beach. Christian, how are you?
Doing great, Brian. How are you this evening?
I am doing excellent. Thank you.
Awesome. Here again. Another Tuesday night.
Yep. Tuesday night podcast club or something.
Something like that.
So, with Dead Man's Weight, there seems to be a bit of a psychedelic Americana vibe going on, starting with that muted, like almost underwater sounding intro. Is that in the ballpark of what you had in mind for this track?
The underwater part, actually the intro was the last piece of the song, because like most of my songs on the EP have some type of strange intro that you pointed out recently. So just to kick the song off, I needed something, and I just simply recorded the piano and the drum part and just processed them through some filters where it kind of gave that underwater kind of sound. But I just needed something because it just anticlimactic, just going right into the song. I needed just a slight little something to preface it before it came in, with those guitar parts and the piano. Seemed a little too abrupt coming right in with the with the slide guitar, so wanted something just to slip in there. So yeah, kind of psychedelic sounding, I guess. The song was crafted from the piano part the song was constructed from piano, so I had all the parts, and then I knew this sort of just a simple drum, dum dum da dum dum da. I know from the very beginning that's kind of what I wanted. I wanted sort of a big but tight drum sound on it. Very simple. So I guess I was thinking more Beatlesque type of vibe to it. The other things that I added on to it sort of came out, just kind of blossomed from experimentation and delving into these different sound sources and weirdness. But the song basically just started out to get the piano, drums, and that sort of bass part, which kind of reminds me of a McCartney-esque kind of bass part, especially in the chorus, do the walking kind of bass part, which I wanted to give it that sort of inflection there. So this is actually the first song that I recorded for the EP. Well, I take that back. I did have a couple of other songs, but I didn't use them. But this is the first track that I knew, hey, this is going to be sort of the centerpiece of the EP. And even though it's sort of a simple arrangement, it took a long time to get right. I recorded the drums through one microphone. I got a new microphone system, and I just hooked up that microphone and recorded me playing the drums all the way through. I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. It's got an old, sort of 60s vibe, just one mono mic on the drums, put it through some compression and EQ. But then I realized it wasn't quite the sound that I wanted. So I had to painstakingly go in and cut and paste the kick, the snare, and also the toms I actually added later, the tom-toms. But I could have just went in easily and just set up the kit proper and recorded it that way. But I was being lazy. But 200 hours later, painstakingly copy and pasting everything and then triggering different drums. But I just kind of liked the way that first drum part came out. And it was a learning experience for me, too, because I was experimenting with these different triggered sounds. And I wanted to see, okay, if I have this loop, it's a mono loop, I can basically convert this to, this big stereo drum sound by just, copy and pasting the waveforms and triggering, from those and creating this different drum sound. So I wanted to do it just for my own learning, really. So that was the start of it, and yeah, a lot of just experimentation on the different parts, the vocal parts. I knew what I wanted on those vocal parts, and then I kind of added in those, John Lennon distorted vocal parts where we want to, I'm the walrus kind of thing, where it's going through like distortion and like a rotary speaker or something. Yeah, it was fun to do.
Yeah, you mentioned the Beatles influence, and I mentioned off mic or off camera when I first heard Dead Man's Weight, just like that, the piano sound just reminded me of like a slower, darker Mr. Blue Sky by ELO, which obviously ELO was greatly influenced by Beatles. So I mean, there's
by the Beatles.
Yeah, so there's that DNA is there. Was there and I know like No Use Writing a Song, there was that Last of the Blacksmiths was an inspiration. Was there a song in this case that may have been a direct inspiration, or was it just something that came about?
No, not a song in particular or anything, but my head, I was thinking, like a John Lennon Plastic Ono Band type of thing, the piano, dun, 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 which, harkens back to the Beatles and stuff. So I came up with I just really liked the chord sequence, in the verse. I just really liked that. And then when I came to that sort of chorus part, I had these kind of weird augmented chords, and almost in a weird way kind of reminded me of like old Genesis or something, but just those a couple chords there. I'm like, oh, that's interesting, going from the Beatles thing to that. And I guess I was just kind of circling around different influences and going in certain chord progressions that I liked, and I just wanted kind of hard backbeat on it. And actually, you know what, come to think of it, there was a song that I heard production wise that I really liked, and I can't think of what it was. A recent artist, I don't remember, but I heard things in that song, and it was kind of like leaning towards the psychedelia, but also kind of rootsy. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So I kind of had that in the back of my mind, like, oh, I should maybe arrange it and have some of these different sounds. So there was like some Mellotron in it and stuff. So I haven't thought about that in a while, but I think that was in the back of my mind as well.
Okay, well, there's a lot to look at or explore in this song. So why don't we go right into the mix, because there's definitely a lot of things to discuss.
All right, cool. So any place you want to start?
Yeah, let's just go straight through. I definitely want to explore that bridge, but let's start at the beginning and just point out some of the more interesting pieces.
So this is the I'm using a different, as you can see here, I'm using an updated version of Reaper that I just downloaded. Hopefully it gives me a little more stability. So we'll start. This is we got the intro here. So that's really, okay, it actually consists of 2 tracks. So that's the drums that sound like they're underwater. And that's the piano. So basically those 2 sounds together. That's just those 2 tracks for the intro, running through some weird effects. And we're going to the rest of the song here. These are the drums. And again, this all came from so I can show you where the main drum sound is, and I think it's right here, and it's actually kind of low in the mix. I couldn't take them entirely out just because it kind of lost some substance, but So this is the original drum track, mono drums. So we add in our triggers. All this stuff. There's a distorted snare I didn't use. And that was weird too. I actually had to, I couldn't hear the hi-hat enough from the mono track. So I overdubbed. Actually, I overdubbed the hi-hat. It didn't sound right. So I just took the high frequency information of the drum track and just enhanced, the high end to make that hi-hat come out a little bit better. So again, I really went over the top, just trying to salvage my original track here. But it worked. So heading into some of the other stuff here. It's the bass. Those are the slide guitars. And that was 2 tracks that created that slide guitar part, and that actually heard that in my head from the very start. So when I wrote the song, I know I wanted that intro before I even played it. I heard that part. I knew exactly what I wanted, so I just have to, get it down. And going to the chorus here, we can get some of those weird sounds. So I'll play the chorus with everything. Go back to going here. Chorus. Actually, go to chorus 2. So, a lot going in that part.
I love that little synth run there.
Yeah.
That little.
So there's a lot. Yeah. So I'll play. So there's a slow drum part. So that's like a Mellotron brass sound.
Yeah.
And the vibraphone thing, that thing goes, ooh, ooh, it sounds like a synth. It's actually not a synth. It's I don't know if this part you're talking about, this track.
Ah.
So that's actually a Mellotron, and the Mellotron has a pitch shifter on it.
Okay.
It's a virtual. It's like a authentic replication of a Mellotron, and the Mellotrons had a pitch a knob, so you can pitch the sound up and down. So I just pitched it up while I was playing it, and it came up with that sound. So it's actually a vibraphone, Mellotron sound. But I wanted something a little underneath that, so I added some vibes. These are actually from my Yamaha stage piano that I put through some different effects. So it's kind of mixed in with that. It's kind of a little lower in the mix, and so that's kind of going on. So all those sounds together. And along with the piano, it has that kind of mysterious sound.
Yeah.
And also the pianos are interesting because I used my virtual instrument piano, and I also overdubbed the broken down baby grand that's in my basement. That's a Lester model, and it's pretty much out of tune, but this song, I didn't need a perfect sounding piano, so I added a little bit of that real baby grand just for a little extra realism. So here's the 2 tracks together. That's the real piano.
Okay.
Next again with the other piano. Kind of gave you a thicker sound, you know. Even if you listen to like old Motown, there might be like 2 or 3 pianos playing together, and it sounds like slightly detuned. And then there's those backing vocals in there. You should help yourself. You should have helped yourself. And this other vocal comes in with distorted shadow vocals. You could have helped yourself. Your head in the shadows. Yeah, that's just in there.
I love those though.
I know. Again, I heard that, and I was thinking more like a, John Lennon type of thing in there with the little distortion, little like rotary speaker kind of effect. And going into let's make sure there's nothing else I'm missing. Let me just go to the bridge part. All right, so for the bridge, there's not too much going on there. I have that weird. I know we talked about this offline, but the main sound, that's kind of that warbly tremolo type of effect.
Right.
I was searching far and wide for this instrument called a Roxachord. Like Garth Hudson from the band used it. A lot of keyboard players from the 60s use this thing. And it's like a harpsichord, but it's like an electric harpsichord. And I took that and just messed with it big time and just added a lot of weird stuff to it. So this is the track. So I have that, and there's also I don't know if you heard this vocal part going underneath it, which vocal. Oh, it's called the bridge vocal. Ooh, okay. Sort of a melody that's going underneath that part. It's coming up now. There are these mellotrons that come in. So that makes up that part. Yes, I mean, it's not too much going on. It just, I guess it sounds like there's a lot going on.
Yeah, well, with everything else going on, it sounds like this complex beat, but now broken down, like you can hear, it makes sense. You can hear the melody that's playing there, but with everything else going on, it just sounded like this like pulsating wall of sound.
Right. Yeah, it definitely takes over. But yeah, it's again just another element of weirdness that I crafted in there. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of these vocal background vocals that are coming like in and out. There's things just coming in and out constantly, and that was kind of the theme of this EP, was just to have sounds sort of come in and then disappear, instead of having things played all the way through. So that's it for the most part here. There's just one. Where does this come in here? This is that. Oops. These are the other distorted vocals that come in during that. That's the other one that kind of sneaks through. Yeah, besides that, just have a little edge on the vocals. This part. Whenever they come in.
You waited in the distance. Was it a
Just kind of thicken it up a little bit. which I did with Highway Sun as well. There's a tambourine that's going through the whole thing, kind of with some effects on it.
You waited in the distance. Was it a surprise? You hid in the shadows. Cause
so yeah, that's basically the gist of it.
Awesome. Well, that concludes this look at Dead Man's Weight from Christian Beach's new EP, Double Life. We'll be back next week to explore track 4, The Epic Food on the Table. If you want to check out Double Life, just go to christianbeach.net, where you can find links to all the ways you can download or stream the EP. And you can watch some videos there as well. Christian, thank you for discussing Dead Man's Weight with us. We'll see you next week for Food on the Table.
Thanks, Brian. See you next week.